Okay, well, thank you for joining us for this session of Tuesdays at 2. I am your host, Antoinette LaGrosa, and I am with Schiller Learning, which produces tons of great resources for homeschoolers and educators in general. So be sure to check out our math, language arts, grace and courtesy, sensory, as well as geography resources. What we're going to talk about today are nomenclature cards, also known as Montessori three-part cards. Um, if you have used three-part cards in your homeschooling, let us know in the comments there. We would love to hear about that. Okay. So nomenclature cards are also referred to as three-part cards. And that is because they're generally there are going to be three parts to them. And you'll have two sets of cards. One card is your control card, and that card has both a picture and a label, and that's kept all together. The next, with your other set of cards, those will be broken into two pieces. Your picture card, which not hard to guess is just the picture, and then the label card, and that is just your label. So you can turn anything that has a picture along with a word into three-part cards by just simply printing an extra set of those. They are easily created um, in Word, PowerPoint, or a similar program that can handle both graphics as well as text. I like to design mine, and this is easily done in Word, to be printed on 3x5 cards. You can simply choose that as your paper size. Um, I like 3x5 cards because it means there's less cutting. So all that has to be done is once you print your two sets, you are cutting off just that label portion of one of the cards. You can use dotted lines as you saw in the picture to mark where you're going to cut. Some people like the lines, other people just like to cut off the word. And that's one of the great things about creating them yourself is they are first off super inexpensive, they're easy to make and easily personalized to both your preferences as a teacher as well as to your child's interests. So if your child loves zoology and is really interested in animals, um, you can take pictures on a field trip to the zoo, which also then becomes a really nice keepsake of, um, you know, places that you're going to. Or you can use free image services. Raw Pixel has some nice free images you can download and become lovely uh, three-part cards or the nomenclature cards. You can also take pictures of your kids' collections. This is a really nice way of ensuring that your child's interest in the materials is really high. So if you're looking to work on reading, which is one of the things that the three-part cards are used for, incorporating your child's collections will really get them interested in that. Okay. Um, it is important to use an easy to read font. Um, Century Gothic is a nice one, as are Arial and Calibri. The font on the screen, if you're doing a script or cursive like font, Bad script is actually a good font that's relatively easy to read, and that's actually the one that you see used in the slide there on the screen. So that one is bad script. But if you're looking at just doing a print font, one of those three is a good option. Okay, one of the common uses of nomenclature cards is to use them to introduce vocabulary, whether it's everyday objects, and this is going to be done generally with a very young child. So at the toddler stage, you can start introducing the use of these cards with simply introducing the object on them, not even worrying about getting to the reading stage yet, just focusing in on the vocabulary portion, and using them as a conversation starter. You can do this again for everyday objects. The five senses, that's a nice topic to do with really young kids. Oh, the free nomenclature card pack that you're getting with this session is going to have, by the way, all of the cards that are shown on the screen. You will be getting all of those sets. So great freebie, and you can use that as an inspiration point for creating your own additional cards. Uh, Also for toddlers, articles of clothing, things that are used in the kitchen, some basic vocabulary. Now when we are using the cards, you want to place them in a way that's going to help train your child's eye tracking for when they do learn to read. They're always going to be placed from left to right and top to bottom, just like if your child was reading down a page. So if you have a lot of cards, and you're going to be using multiple rows, you want to start at that top left corner to place your first card. Uh, Generally, introducing three cards at a time is going to be ideal. And then once you say, okay, they've got those three cards, you can add from there. And it uses the simple Montessori three-part the three-period lesson. And you're going to first show the child, this is sight or seeing. This is hearing. This is smell. And then at this point, we've introduced three of the cards. We want to make sure they're following along. And so we can ask the child, can you show me smell? Can you show me hearing? Can you show me sight? And then um, asking the question, pointing to one of those cards. And let's say it was the smell card, what is this? And randomly pointing and asking which is which. Okay, so we see that indeed they are good with all of that vocabulary. And as you're introducing the cards, you can also, go ahead and talk about each one of those. What are the things that you like to look at? What are the sounds that you like to hear? What are some good smells? What are some bad smells? So great conversation starters. Okay, now they've got three cards down. You add another card. This is taste. This is touch. Now, in this series, it's a simple set of five cards. That's going to be all of them. And then you can go back in with the second period of asking, which is touch, which is taste, and having the child point. And then that third period, which is asking the child, what is this? And then they have that recognition of the vocabulary, whether it's, simple things like senses or, more advanced recognition. They're going to have the vocabulary to feed back to you. Okay, now when the child is learning to read, we go through those same steps, but then we go on to another. And that is the next use of nomenclature cards is actually helping your child learn to read. Um, so now we've gone through the steps that we just looked at, and we go on to just putting out the control cards. We place those again, starting with the top left, moving our way right. And then we'll have we've got the picture cards, and we have the label cards randomly mixed up, and we choose one of them, and starting at the first picture, we'll stop and see, we'll say the word smell that's on the card and say, okay, that's not smell. Point at the next picture, that's not smell. Oh, third one, we found smell. That is where that label will go. And then you'll do that same thing, working through those pictures left to right. Again, this activity is going to help develop proper eye tracking for when the child is reading text on pages. Okay, and then you'll eventually have all of the labels out, and then the child can take a turn to see if now they can mix up the labels and match all of those. You can introduce words incrementally with this visual representation. It makes learning to read really fun and interesting for kids with the three-part cards. Um, Also, something nice about the nomenclature cards is that the repetition of words is easily tailored to each individual child's needs. So when you see that, the child is getting a particular label incorrect, you can focus in on that one. And then they're going to, you know, kids know when they are finished with something. And you'll see kids repeat an activity, whether it's building a Lego set or a puzzle, do that same thing over and over again, maybe 10, 20 times. And then all of a sudden they lose interest in it. Same thing is going to happen with three-part cards. Uh, Kids will use these multiple times and then lose interest once they have mastered the information on those cards. Okay, another way that nomenclature cards are commonly used in Montessori is for teaching life cycles and related parts. So one of the sets included in your pack are the pumpkin life cycle cards. Another set are the parts of a flower. And so, same thing, you're going to do them laying out, introducing with the control card each one of those parts of the flower. And then you will go back and lay out just the control cards with the label to the appropriate card. This is a fun way of learning whether it is all the parts of a um, pumpkin or all the parts of a plant. These also will make very fun memory games. One of my favorite sets to do the memory game with is our set of um, the monuments and places to visit in the US. Again, this is in your pack, and the link for that will be emailed after the session. If you are watching this replay, you will be able, there's a link in the comments. Okay, so for the memory game, you just need two sets of those control cards. And again, the control card, that is where you've got the label still attached to the picture. You'll cut those out, the full whole control card, mix them up, turn them over. You can play your traditional matching game where you take turns finding matches. Um, with this, though, it's as you find a match, it's really fun to include fun facts about the card, um, and then as you've played this a couple of times, you can transition from talking about fun facts about that card to asking questions. So the game can be part of the instruction as well as the evaluation of how well the child has mastered that information. Okay, so you've used cards to introduce, vocabulary, to work on reading, um, to learn scientific parts of things. Uh, the next thing you can do is work on alphabetizing. And with this, all you need is your set of control cards and work on alphabetizing. When you're introducing alphabetizing skills, start with just a single letter so that they are putting them in order to just the first letter. As you as they increase in that skill and master that, you can use larger sets of cards and go incrementally in until they're able to fully alphabetize a large set. Okay. And I see some folks are creating nomenclature cards on their own, using cards that we have included with some of our activity packs. And it looks like also creating cards over the summer to use along with the units. Again, you can easily and inexpensively create nomenclature cards for any subject your child is learning. They're also fun to do when you're learning a foreign language for older kids, and going back to learning those basic things that they learned as a child in this format, but in a foreign language. So you can even use them well beyond. Oh, for self-checking. So your control card, excellent question. Uh, your control card, let's take a look at this. So your control card, yes, that actually is for self-checking. So once the child has matched the labels to the picture card, they use the control card to lay out above the picture cards to make sure that indeed they have matched all of the labels properly. Thank you. Excellent question. Yeah, so we have the free set that you're getting um, the link to. And then we do also have 3-part cards included in many of our activity packs.